chemo is required.
Right.
What is important is, in the whole context of integrative oncology, each one plays a role. I divide this into three verticals or three stages. At the time of diagnosis, then pre-treatment, during treatment, I would say four, post-treatment. These are the four stages. Now, at the time of diagnosis, that's when all the other complementary therapies can play a significant role. Since they have this question of why me, who would answer all this? Now, oncologists are super busy in India and across the world. They don't have time. But there should be a role of an integrative oncology coach holding hand patient as well as their caregivers,
Yes.
really explaining them
Yes.
it's okay to get diagnosed with cancer. We got to figure out these are the various treatments available. These are the pros and cons of each treatment, and these are all the supporting care which is available, and these are the supporting care which you got to take at these times. So that's the first thing. So there is some amount of spiritual counsel is also required at the diagnosis, and we got to bring in some diet changes, some lifestyle changes, and some kind of a coaching, and create that support group around the cancer patient and caregivers at the time of diagnosis. Now, what are the various modalities or protocols which are available? First thing is full spiritual counsel. Why me? We got to answer that question. Second thing is, you also need to understand, is stress playing a role here in this particular cancer or patient? The extent of stress or suppression of emotions, what are those, how much of role that is playing, and how do we reduce it? So managing stress and anxiety. Now there are two kinds of stress. Stress because of a diagnosis of a disease.
Yes.
Stress is because something else which eventually led to cancer.
Correct.
You got to understand both.
Both, yeah.
Come up with a protocol to really control this. Where Ayurveda and it's a lot of Indian philosophies can play a significant role. For example, what is anxiety? What is stress? It's in Ayurveda, we see that as prana vayu. Number is the air which is going in. If somebody is stressed out, you'll see heavy breathing.
Yes, true.
And what is prana vayu? Controlling pranayama. Controlling prana vayu.
Correct.
Controlling your life.
Yeah.
So that's one way of helping them. Second thing is, again, our senses are the tools which God gave us to receive information, to send information to our brain, and to receive positive information, negative information, healthy information, unhealthy information.
Right.
So using those 5 senses, again, we can bring back normalcy.
Correct.
Now, one of the senses is sense of smell, which is very powerful. Now, how can we use that? For example, anxiety. I'll take the same example, anxiety. There are fantastic essential oils which can control anxiety.
Yes, there are.
Now, how the essential oil can control anxiety? It's very simple. If you look at a tree or a plant, it needs to defend itself by staying right there. It can't move away. That means God gave them abilities to produce something which can either kill insects or which can drive them away.
Yeah.
When you take a flower or a bark or a what you call leaves, extracting essence of it, we are getting those properties. One of the
Right.
essential oil is vetiver. What is vetiver? It's a root, goes
Yeah.
deep in the ground. What happens during anxiety? They feel light, they get hallucinations, nightmares. Opposite of that is grounding. So vetiver essential oil, when you use that along with some more grounding oil, let's say it can be sesame oil or something like that, and give a good massage, the person will get grounded.
Correct.
So these are some of the things. So this is sense of smell and also sense of touch. Now, when you're touching either yourself or somebody else, that sense of touch also giving some kind of a grounding.
Okay.
Now, when we touch ourselves using massage, in Ayurveda it's called Abhyanga, we are also increasing our positive ego, that is self-love. That means our willingness to live will increase because we start loving our body. Right? So that's also bringing that self-love into picture, and that's also gives some more amount of control over themselves. That helplessness will also come down. Now, like that, each of the senses, we can bring some amount of therapeutic effect. Again, I gave a couple of examples. One is with the other is pranayama. Like that, the diet we got to figure out, right? Similarly, healing music, making sure that So these are the 5 senses, and on top of it, when you add spiritual counseling, that's when you'll also get that intuition aspect of it, and you'll be much more stronger as.
Okay.
So that is how at the time of diagnosis, we got to take care of a person.
Yes.
Before starting treatment, it's the same thing. We need to clearly understand what is a chemo, what's the protocol, what are all the side effects one will have, how do we manage these side effects. Now, I will give you one example of how do we control even number of again, it's based on my personal experience, right?
Right.
I'm not against anybody, but I'm just giving you my story, right? So let's say the person is having diarrhea because of chemo. We give them one more medicine. One of the things my mom used to say is, I'm already taking 25 pills.
Yeah.
How can one more? Their mouth is already full of sores, the mucositis, right? They can't swallow anything, and we're giving one more pill. How humane is this? Now, if you can somehow manage the diarrhea, there are various ways we can control diarrhea,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Changing what they eat, maybe a little bit of ginger to control nausea, or adding maybe a little bit of, not sweet banana, but little bit of rawish between raw and sweet, add a bit of cardamom. Then what happens? Because there are 2 things. One is they can't take some more pills.
Yeah.
Second thing is there's the other effect. The next thing which will follow diarrhea is constipation.
Yes. Constipation. Yes.
Right? So this is a vicious cycle. So we also need to figure out where the medicines are required, where we can avoid. For example, chemo is required, but the other things are not required. Wherever we can avoid, we got to avoid. I'm not saying there are experts who can decide, but the
Right.
same time, those experts, when they are thinking about these pills, they got to pay a little bit more attention. And that's where I felt that I failed when it comes to my mom, is just continuously dumping her with hundreds of pills a day really brought her down. She thought
Right.
living like this is useless. Once that thought comes into a person's mind, nothing can stop from leaving the body.
Right.
That's when they give up. So that will to live, our focus should be willingness to live. We got to bring that will to live.
And how's Ayurveda got to play with this? I mean, how can we bring the principles of Ayurvedic treatment into this, doctor?
Sure. Now, we got to be very careful. One of the what you call misconceptions each one of us have, everybody have, is, oh, these are just herbs, there won't be side effect. No, that's not true. We got to be very careful what herbs we are giving at what time. We cannot be interfering with an allopathic treatment
Right.
and negate the effects of chemo, because chemo is trying to kill cells, and if you try to go and interfere it, eventually the person will be at loss. So we have to be extremely careful.
Right.
Now, from an Ayurvedic perspective, during chemo, our focus should be on more of what you call, for example, Shirodhara
Yeah.
is a body treatment where it will help us to reduce stress and anxiety.
Okay.
That's a to give during chemo,
Okay.
right? And Ayurveda also focuses heavily on diet.
My next question was that about your
Yeah.
nutrition.
Right. So that's where it is extremely useful during chemo, is
Right.
to understand which of the doshas. From Ayurvedic perspective, we call it as dosha. It's nothing but, it's very straightforward.
All right.
Is a wear and vata, that's a wear and tear. Pitta, in metabolism, transformation. Anytime when there's a transformation in body, it's because of heat.
Okay.
And because you need that fire, right? That's called pitta. And finally, every body requires a structure and tissues to be, in order to build anything, any organ, we need a structure, and the structure is given by kapha. And what we do is we try to understand the disease, cancer, which tissues or organs it's affecting, and which of these doshas are being vitiated or out of balance. Sometimes will go out of balance.
Yes.
A diet plan which will slowly bring one by one to control or balance.
All right.
So where the diet plays very important role.
Yes. Nutrition and diet, both.
Nutrition and diet plays very, very important role. So that's where Ayurveda can play a very good, a significant role. So one is the body therapies.
Yeah.
Second is, nutrition and diet.
Right.
These are the things. And if we identify any herbs which will not interfere, those can be given. But frankly speaking, the information we have is very less. Okay, it's very, very less. So that's why we have to be extremely careful in what kind of herbs we are giving.